Welcome to this video where I share with you a student paper who got 100%, 80 out of 80 on paper 1 in the summer 2018 full A-level paper. My student, whose name is Kate, went on to get an A-star overall, and I am super excited to share with you her paper. Massive thank you as always for watching. If you like the video, click like, subscribe if you want to see more, share if you think others will benefit. I am sharing with you Kate's answers from paper 1 from June 2018, and as you will understand, this is a massive paper. It was worth 80 marks, so I will not be spending too long on each question. Rather, I will pick out some features that make them top band answers, but what I will be doing is some follow-up videos on each question in detail. Question 1. Outline 2 reasons why marketisation policies may produce inequality of educational achievements between the social classes. We were expecting students to identify one of the reasons and then explain it and do that twice. So looking at Kate's answer, she's wrote quite a lot here, but she does identify a lot of knowledge. So she's got quite a few points in here because she's got parental choice, but she's also got silt shift, which was on the mark scheme that she could have mentioned as well. There was also formula funding, was also another part, marketisation policy as well. And she has explained how it causes inequality within achievement. And she's been very specific actually, because she said high achieving middle class pupils, whereas lower place schools had working class pupils, they perform poorly. So she's very explicit to the educational difference into the achievement. Likewise with this one as well, poorly placed schools got less money, they can't compete, and that then means that they will fail. So she's very explicit there. Question 2, outline 3 reasons for gender differences in educational achievement. Again, you have to identify the reason and then explain explicitly why does it cause a difference, e.g. whether girls are achieving higher or boys are failing. All right, so we're looking for something quite specific. As you can see here, Kate has clearly identified 3 different reasons. We can see that they are very clear because she's missed a line between each one. And she's used one factor, another reason, lastly a reason for. So it's just very, very clear, her answers. She's identified national curriculum there. She's clearly linked it into the introduction of coursework, and then she was saying that girls are at an advantage of this, and that gets a qualifying mark. Secondly, we have got the loss of manual jobs or deindustrialisation, changes in employment. This means that boys have hardly any job prospects. Because of that, there is no hope for them finding a career, so they don't need qualifications. And then finally, we have got peer pressure within schools. So we've got male pupils being pressured to do with hyper masculinity identity. Revising, moving down, is seen as being effeminate or seen as being feminized. So labelling them as gays or wimps, which then causes their failure. So 3 clear reasons and clearly linked to educational achievement with an indication of whether they are achieving or they are failing. For question 3, you had to apply material from the item, analyse 2 ways in which the education system might serve the needs of capitalism. In this question, you are asked to identify some hooks from the item, which will help you explain how the education system might serve the needs of capitalism. And we are looking for examples from within the education system, what is going on within school which is benefiting the systematic inequalities and failure of the working class. So the hooks that you could have chose from were basically things like capitalism continues to exist because each generation of workers is forced to undertake low-paid alien work to survive, which is indicating working class failure, or it could indicate the correspondence principle. And then we've got the other one, which is capitalism is unstable, dependent on the proletariat not seeking to overthrow. This is linking into the ideological function of capitalism. So teaching students not to see that inequality is unfair, rather than seeing inequality as being something that it is the working class students' fault. So things like myth of meritocracy. So here's Kate's answer, and firstly what I want you to note is that both paragraphs are roughly about the same size. She's put equal attention into both of the hooks. She starts off with the hooks quite high up in the paragraphs, so we can see up here, preparing each generation for the capitalist economy. She's made it explicit that she's used the hook there, and likewise in the second paragraph. What she does then, she has got the application, so she gives an example from schooling, so Balzingintis, the correspondence principle, and explaining how there is a correspondence, and she gives examples to back that up. But then what she also does is that she then links it to serving the needs of capitalism. So she has that linking back to the question. Likewise, in the second paragraph, she does the same. She has the hook at the beginning. She then applies an illustrative example to back up what she is saying from the hook. So we've got Althusser here, and talking about the ideological function. She does use a few examples of media and religion, but the one that she needs to focus on is education, and she gives an example from education, this idea of meritocratic and how that is through a myth. Okay, and what she does do, she has some focused evaluation right at the bottom. So if we're saying here about how the education system is producing workers to have working class jobs, she has questioned this idea by suggesting that in a postmodern or a post-Fordist economy, capitalism, we don't need that type of worker anymore, and as schools for not producing that type of passive workers. Second paragraph, she does the same. She has got that focused evaluation there, talking about Davis and Moore, that inequality is not only inevitable, but it's the best people for the best job. So she's actually followed on that point in a logical manner. Okay, and that got full marks. Now we're getting to the biggie. Okay, so we've got question 4, apply material from item B and your knowledge, evaluate sociological explanations of social class differences in educational achievement, which students were mega pleased to have a 30 marker on class and achievement, and Kate was one of them. Okay, so you're asked to, in this top band, to have sound, conceptually detailed knowledge of a range of relevant materials on social class differences in educational achievement, sophisticated understanding of the question, and the presented material will be shown, so reference to the item also. Material will be applied accurately and sensitively to the issues raised by the question. Your analysis and evaluation will be explicit and relevant. Evaluation may be developed through a discussion of the relative importance of material and cultural factors and of internal and external factors or their interrelationship. Analysis will show clear explanations and appropriate conclusions will be drawn. So let's just have a look at Kate's answer overall. So what she does do, she starts off with an introduction which contextualizes the debate. So that's there. Then she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main paragraphs, ending with a conclusion which the examiner has put strong conclusion to the end. Okay. So let's start off with the introduction. I'll just go through one paragraph as well. So basically she contextualizes it. So she starts off by saying that the gap with achievement starts as early as reception, widening the longer they're in education. Traditionally, working class pupils tend to underachieve, whereas middle class achieve highly and succeed, so clear application to the question. Similarly, middle class pupils are more likely to continue to higher education, and so on. And then she says about even up to the prestigious universities such as Oxbridge. Then she indicates that she is aware that she is going to evaluate. Here's the however. It is disputed whether these differences are a result of internal factors, such as labelling, or external factors, such as parental values. So she starts off and she's contextualised it quite well, and she's identified that she is going to be talking about internal and external factors. And what she does in this paragraph that I'm just going to go through, if I pop that there, you can see it all. She starts off with the item, and she's picked out that it is the internal factors and that they're responsible for the difference. And she goes through labelling, and the majority of students will know Becker and the ideal pupil. And she explains what the ideal pupil is and how middle class pupils are more likely to be labelled as the ideal pupil compared to working class. She then starts to go into a little bit more detail. She starts to apply another illustrative example. So for example, she's got Ray wrists, which was the tigers, the clowns and the cardinals, and she's applying it to middle class and working class as well. She does that there, but she also analyses a way here as well, because she says it's not just the labelling, but it's also the teaching style, and the knowledge that is being taught is also differentiated. And then she does that application where she links it to the question. This is causing the differences in educational achievement between the social groups, called the self-fulfilling prophecy. She's adding on an explanation to this now. And then she's got some analysis. So the working class, who are often labelled as underachieving, internalise it and they fail. It's also apparent among ethnic groups as well. And she, you know, you're probably thinking, oh, she's going a bit at the tangent here, but in a class explanation, and it's asking about labelling, she's showing that she's aware that it's not just working class students that are labelled negatively, but also ethnic minorities might be as well. Okay. And then, this is what I love, she didn't just evaluate, she double whammies the evaluation. So we've got, however, labelling theory has been critiqued, being deterministic. It is also whether it's truly an internal process, because is it the cultural background which is influenced. She's then also got Marxists criticising it for ignoring the wider structure, such as capitalism, rather than simply blaming the individual teachers for their actions. So a really well-packed paragraph, and she does that quite a few times with her answer. Okay, I'm going to skip right to the conclusion now, because it did say that Kate had a really strong conclusion at the end, so I really want to share with you what she put. So in conclusion, there are viable sociological explanations for the differences, many internal and external, so very similar to what she put in her introduction. They're often seen as separate as opposed to interrelated as they reality that they are. Whilst teachers may label pupils negatively or positively in school, it is ultimately their home background that determines the label. Similarly, whilst certain classes may possess different cultural values, the education system openly chooses to favour those of middle class, and it should not be looked at in isolation. Top band. Question 5 is the methods in context. I'm not going to read all that out, but basically you had to give strengths and weaknesses of using participant observation to investigate pupil exclusion. So exploring Kate's method in context. So what she does do, she starts off with an introduction where she outlines what participant observation is, and she gets some basic level 2s there. But if you look at her overall answer and just note the level 3s and level 4s, every paragraph that she has, she starts off with something that is generic to the method, but then she does develop it as much as she can. Okay, sometimes she's getting a level 4, sometimes she's getting a level 5, and she builds up to it. Okay, so that one's got level 4s and level 3s and 4s. This one does the same again, but every paragraph she's attempting to apply to the context. And she goes on to the next page. She's got some very strong level 5s here, 2 of those there, another one there, another one there. That's 4 level 5s. That is enough to get you top band. Okay, and what the other thing that she does that I just want to identify is her structure of her answer as well. A little bit of an intro to what the method is. Then she goes and talks about practical limitations or strengths, and she mentions the practical issues there. She does that. She must have quite a few to say, so she carries on with practicals issues as well. Then she turns her attention to ethical issues. All the time she's developing it, she's trying to apply it to pupils' exclusions every time. Okay, and then she really does hit the nail on the head when she gets to the ethical and the theoretical issues, where she does get the level 5s, and then she ends with a clear conclusion to finish off her answer. Final question: outline and explain 2 problems of using the functionist perspective to study today's society. As you can see, Kate has got 2 clear problems. She starts off and she explicitly states what they are. Outdated was one of them, and the structure of conflict versus the consensus. She applies examples of what those problems are. contemporary examples and comparing it back to the functionalist approach on both paragraphs. And then she also mentioned some analysis at the end. Sorry, that one was quite rushed, but I am running out of time. So as always, thank you for watching. Kate got 100%, 80 out of 80. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below, and I shall speak to you again soon. Bye.